The iPhone 12 Pro in 2024 is interesting. It feels like a regular iPhone 12, yet pro themed on the outside. It has a lot of life ahead of itself and it still holds up well, but is it really worth getting now? And that's what I want to try covering this video. Is the iPhone 12 Pro worth getting in 2024? As well as some important buying advice I think you all should be 100% aware about. And the first start off with something the iPhone 12 Pro excels at, and that is the cameras. Just like any other Pro model iPhone, you're going to get more features compared to like the regular model iPhone 12, as well as some features too brought by the iPhone 11 Pro series. So you are getting a telephoto camera for 2x optical zoom, a wide angle camera, and of course, nighttime photography. You're also getting some other newer features as well, like Smart HDR3 for better colors in photos, night mode for portraits, night mode time lapses, Apple Pro RAW for professionals, HDR video recording with Dolby Vision, and finally a LiDAR sensor for augmented reality. You can probably notice a trend here that the features I listed are like pro user features, and that's going to be a trend you're going to see with the rest of this iPhone review. As for all the other camera features, they're basically the same as the iPhone 11 Pro, and I'll go put a list up on screen if you're curious. But overall, the photo quality of this phone is amazing. I went to this newer park that was built just recently this year, kind of by my house. I went around taking some photos, and I immediately noticed like the colors on the iPhone 12 Pro do definitely look a little bit better than the iPhone 11 Pro. It did a great job at picking up details too, especially with this 12 megapixel camera. You can see I took photos with this deer statue in the central plaza of the park. You can see those details all really well, all crisp and clear. And overall, camera quality on the iPhone 12 Pro series, I feel like is really good. But there are some features that you are missing out on, and I have a list here. You're missing out on a higher 24 to 28 megapixel count for more detail, photographic styles for better overall photo processing, cinematic mode for videos, which gives you a blur effect around subjects, kind of like what you see in the movies, macro photography for extreme close-up shots where you need to get that detail, more professional video stuff like log video recording, and me personally, I use an iPhone 15 Pro that has all those features, and I don't really care too much about it. I mean, I'm glad they're in this phone, but at the end of the day, those extra pro camera features, the people who care about that stuff are going to have a professional DSLR camera anyways. Another thing that I kind of consider to be a pro upgrade of this phone is the design. The Pro brings a stainless steel frame instead of an aluminum frame like on the regular iPhone 12. It also has a frosted glass back instead of just a regular glass back. But besides that, that's pretty much all that's really different with the design. The edges do have this boxy look, first introduced in the iPhone 12 series, which my dad personally hates because he thinks like the rounded corners of the older iPhones are more comfortable to hold in the hand. On the left-hand side, you have your volume buttons and a mute switch. On the right-hand side, you have your power/Siri button. On the bottom, you have your speakers and the lightning port, which Apple did just recently switch to USB-C on the iPhone 15s. However, me personally, I kind of found it annoying having to upgrade all my cables from Lightning to USB-C. So it is going to still be fairly common for at least a few more years, Lightning, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The back of the phone supports wireless charging, and the iPhone 12 series is the first series of iPhones to bring this thing called MagSafe. What MagSafe is it's a series of magnets on the back of the phone that allow you to attach different accessories like a wallet case or a car mount, for example, kind of like what I use, and even allow you to charge the phone. It is important though that if you do want to use MagSafe accessories, that you have a MagSafe compatible case instead of just a regular one. A MagSafe case kind of looks like this, where you have like this little ring in the center with magnets. And as long as you have a case kind of like this, you'll be able to use those accessories. And this phone too, of course, is IP68 water resistant, which it is nice to have that peace of mind in case you spill water or something on it. However, I wouldn't really trust it too much though, considering this phone's age and it likely being opened at some point to replace a screen or a battery, for example. And then speaking of screens, the screens on the iPhone 12 Pro series are pretty much identical to the regular iPhone 12. However, the iPhone 12 Pro does have a bigger screen size option, coming in at 6.7 inches, and it's called the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which you can find for roughly $450. And then the other improvement too with the screen quality on the iPhone 12 Pro series is the Pros can go up to 800 nits of brightness instead of 625 nits of brightness. So if you're someone who likes to use your phone outside, the iPhone 12 Pro series is something to consider. The iPhone 12 Pro series continues the look brought by the iPhone 10 series with the all-screen design, rounded corners, and the notch at the top that houses your Face ID sensor and front-facing camera for things like Animoji and portraits, unlocking the phone. As for the quality of this display, I am pleasantly surprised with it as well. It has 458 pixels per inch screen resolution, which I honestly think is really good. The screen too is also an OLED screen, so it can turn off individual pixels under the backlight, which gives you really deep blacks and higher color contrast in low light scenarios. While all these features seem great, it does make the phone more expensive to repair, which I'll get into that later. And then another downside though too with the screen on this phone is the refresh rate. So it's only a 60 Hz refresh rate panel instead of 120 Hz like you get on the iPhone 13 Pro, 14 Pro, and 15 Pros, which allows for smoother animations when you're scrolling through things like apps, and overall the screen feels a lot more responsive. But you'll definitely notice that side by side with one of these Pro model iPhones that are newer. But then again, too, like 60 Hz isn't bad and it's definitely still usable. And then color quality is about the same as your typical phone screen. It's P3 wide color gamut, so overall you're getting a pretty good, decent color quality. Performance on this phone too is also decently good. iOS 17 is definitely still usable on this phone. You can scroll through apps without any issues, web pages load decently fast, and overall I'm not disappointed at all of how iOS 17 performs on this phone. However, I do wonder though, the A14 Bionic that's in this, in the future when it's like on its last iOS update, is it going to run pretty sluggish? I personally don't know, but so far it's holding up pretty well. And then of course too, this phone is getting iOS 18, and after that it'll probably get like another 3 to 4 years of the latest iOS updates, and then another year or two of app support updates after that. So this phone still has a lot of life ahead of itself, and it'll probably last you, I'd say, 3 to 4 years. Another thing I really want to do with this phone too is test out different apps. Unfortunately, the phone repair shop that I borrowed this from had a lock in place that wouldn't allow me to install any apps in case someone wanted to borrow the phone. So I'd say though, considering Apple's processor game has been really good these past few years, you're not going to have really any issues with apps, games whatsoever, and the A14 Bionic chip I think still holds up well. And then of course, wireless connectivity. The iPhone 12 series is also the first series of iPhones to bring 5G connectivity, and this is really nice in urban environments because it allows you to get faster speeds, kind of like in the park I'm in right there. It also has Wi-Fi 6 too, so if you're at a home and you have a Wi-Fi 6 router, you can get faster speeds at home as well. And then next up, something I really want to talk about and what I know a lot of you are curious about is battery life. Overall, I hadn't got much time to spend with this phone and get a super great idea of battery life, but I can see what people said online and kind of compare that to the usage I had with this. Over the course of using this for about 3 hours of frequent use, it went from 85% to 62%-ish. And overall, that's not too bad. My screen on time is about 50 minutes during that period. And my guess from basically what I use it for there is that this phone will probably last you the day, but you may have to turn on low power mode at some points or even charge it for a bit. And looking at what people said online, they said about 4 to 6 hours of screen on time at around 80% battery health. And that seemed to match fairly decently well with what I was getting out of this phone. Now here's the difficulty with how long the battery is going to last you. Everyone's use case is different. Some people barely drain any battery at all because they only rarely use their phone. Some people drain a lot of battery because they scroll on social media for 4 hours a day and listen to music at night. Another thing that kind of factors into how much battery life you're going to get out of the phone too is the actual health of the battery itself. And this is something you do really want to think about before buying a used iPhone. A vast majority of shops out there that sell these used iPhones, including the ones I linked down below, guarantee at least 80% battery health. However, I do think you really should keep in mind though the cost to replace a battery on this. If you're to get replaced from Apple, it's $89. From a third party, it's going to be anywhere between $60 to $80. So if you buy the phone and you end up deciding like a year or like even sooner down the line that you have to replace the battery, that is an added cost that I think you should definitely factor in. The iPhone 12 Pro I had here did have its battery replaced by a third party, and I didn't get a chance to plug it into a computer to see what the actual battery health was, but I'd assume it'd be anywhere between 90 to 95% would be my guess. And then of course, diving into a bit more of repairability, a screen from Apple is a whopping $279. Third parties, it's going to be a bit cheaper, around $200 for an OLED screen. If you want a cheaper LCD screen, it's about $150. And then for other repairs, a back glass is typically a few $100s from a third party. A camera is between $60 to $150 from a third party, $200 if you're to get replaced from Apple. And then a charge port is around $200 from a third party. So definitely be careful with this phone. Definitely get a good case, a good screen protector, and I even go as far as getting a camera lens protector for this thing. Now we're going to get into buying options, comparing this phone to other iPhones around the same price range, and just overall things I think you should be aware about before picking up a used iPhone. Starting off with some buying options I'd recommend. The first option is Facebook Marketplace. This is typically where you can find the best deals. You can oftentimes get the device right away. However, you do need to deal with the hassle of messaging the seller, driving out and testing the device. There's no warranty to back up any issues, and you can't return it if you decide you need to return it. I am currently working on a video on things to check before buying a used iPhone that I'll release within the next few weeks. But another thing you could consider too is buying from a store, and one store I recommend is PlugTech. They are a bit more, but you do get a 30-day money-back guarantee, a 1-year warranty for defects, a professionally tested and reset iPhone, and they have these things too called iPhone Star Packs, which includes a pre-installed screen protector, a case, and a fast charger for a lot cheaper if you're to buy them individually off of Amazon. As I'm making this video, they currently have a deal where if you place your first order of $100 or more after clicking the affiliate link, you get a $10 discount. From there, they'll go package up your order, and most orders arrive within 2 to 4 business days in the US. And then finally, we have Amazon. They have a lot of the same benefits as a business with a 90-day warranty for defects, and oftentimes the device will arrive within a week. I'll leave links to both Amazon and PlugTech down below if you're interested. And then getting into our comparison, there are a few things you should keep in mind here. 1, what are the features you really care about and value in a phone? 2, how long is the phone going to last you? 3, what is the resale value of the phone going to be once they're done? And 4, what is the overall value for what you're paying for? And then the first iPhone I recommend considering over the iPhone 12 Pro is actually the regular iPhone 12, and this would honestly be my top recommendation for most people watching this video. It is very similar to the iPhone 12 Pro. However, the only things you are missing out on are a frosted glass back instead of a regular glass back, an aluminum frame instead of stainless steel, a 2x telephoto lens for better zoom quality, 625 nits of max brightness instead of 800 nits of max brightness, night mode portraits, Apple ProRAW, and Dolby Vision recording, and a LiDAR sensor for better augmented reality. But besides that, all the other features of the iPhone 12 compared to the iPhone 12 Pro are exactly the same. And for me, even a tech guy, if I'm saving between $50 to $100 on the regular iPhone 12, I'd just go for that personally. But I know some people are different, and one type of person who could consider the iPhone 12 Pro series still is the people who want bigger phones because of the 6.7-inch screen size of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. After that though, the rest of the features comparing this phone to the regular iPhone 12 are exactly the same. And then this leads me into my next phone that I can find for a bit cheaper, and that's the iPhone 11 Pro. The iPhone 11 Pro comes in 2 screen sizes, a small 5.8-inch screen on the regular iPhone 11 Pro for about $260, and then a 6.5-inch screen size on the iPhone 11 Pro Max for a little over $300. This phone does have a more rounded design, but still keeps a lot of the same features. You do miss out on, though, on MagSafe, 5G connectivity, some of the pro camera features, a LiDAR sensor, and about a year less of updates. However, for those who are looking for a cheaper alternative, especially for those bigger screen sizes, it may be worth it in the end. And then finally, we have the iPhone 13 Pro, and this is my top recommendation for those who want an actual Pro iPhone in my opinion. They come in at about $500 for the 6.1-inch screen on the regular iPhone 13 Pro, and about $600 to $700 for the 6.7-inch screen size on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. While they are a lot more, I do think it's worth it for those who want a pro-feeling iPhone because you get a ton more features. You get 120Hz refresh rate display, which really helps with scrolling animations, especially on websites and scrolling through apps. You have at least an extra year of the latest software updates, 1,000 nits of peak brightness, which helps in broad daylight. You have macro photography, cinematic video, and the list just keeps going on and on. But in conclusion, the iPhone 12 Pro is still a great iPhone. It's just for those who are looking to buy a new phone, the extra features of the iPhone 12 Pro just aren't worth it in the end, in my opinion. But for those who want a bigger screen size, the 6.7-inch screen of the iPhone 12 Pro Max might actually make it worth it. And for those who want a more pro-feeling iPhone, the iPhone 13 Pro is another option to consider. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to leave a like if you found this video informative and helping you decide what iPhone to get. And if you're still struggling, feel free to comment down below or check out this other playlist of iPhone reviews I have within this price range. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.